Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about the key mechanics for the Allied reinforcements phase. This is the last phase of a turn and it only applies after or on turn 8 and only if certain criteria have been met. Let's talk about the criteria first. So, for this to be a mechanic that you're going to be using, you must have a counter on the other side of the bridge. On the other side of the bridge, we mean the opposite side from where you landed. So, in this map, for example, you've landed on this side of the bridge. You must have fought your way up, and you must have a counter in that particular zone. Okay, and there can be no enemies on the bridge, and there can be no enemies adjacent to that zone. So, no enemies there, there, or there. You must have an allied counter there. Okay. So we're on turn 8, and turn 8 on the turn track, as you can see, is a different coloured, just to help signify that. So you're going to roll 2 dice, and you need a double 6. And if you get a double 6, the allies have entered, and you've been relieved, and you can work out victory points. And I'll come to that in a minute. But there are some modifiers as well. Now the key modifier that you need to be aware of is that on the turn track, after turn on and after turn 10, you get a +1. So that also applies to this roll. So on turn 10, you get a +1 to your dice roll. So if you get a 5 and a 6 on your 2d6, then you've achieved success. And it goes on and on. So turn 12, it's a +2. Turn 13, +2. Turn 14, the very last turn of the game, last ditch attempt, you get a +3. But the criteria still needs to remain the same. So for when you come to this phase, even if you're on, say, for example, turn 10, you must have an allied counter there. There must not be enemy counters there or there or there or there. You can have an enemy counter in the same zone as you on this zone, that's okay, but they cannot be there and there and there. Okay, basically, if there's one in the same zone as you, you're sort of dealing with it, you know, in the narrative of the game, that's okay. Now, there is another modifier you can achieve. If you can get an allied counter in any of the 2 adjacent zones, you get a +1 as well. So let's say we're on turn 12. We've got an allied counter here. Great. No Germans there or there. Great. No Germans there. Great. No Germans there. Great. And we've got an allied counter here. So we get a +1 for that. Also, if you do have an allied counter in this zone, that's okay for there to be a German counter in that zone. Because again, your allied counter is dealing with that German counter, as it were. So there is a little bit of leeway there for you as a player. But generally speaking, you must make sure those are clear of Germans, and the only time there can be a German is if there's an allied counter there as well. The same actually would be true of the bridge. If you've got allied counters where there are German counters, then that's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter where anything else is, it's only these zones you're concerned with, these ones here. And it's just quite straightforward as that. So just to illustrate this a little bit further, let's say we're on turn, again, let's just use this same turn. You're on turn 12, for example. You wouldn't be able to roll because there's a German counter there. If there was a German counter there, you would not be able to. If there was a German counter there, you would not be able to. And if there's a German counter there, you would not be able to. And that's how you determine if you can roll to see if those allies enter the map. Basically, the premise behind this mechanic is very much the objective to hold this area until relieved from the other allied forces. And that's what that mechanic is there to do. Now let's say you get success. Doesn't matter what turn you get success on. We're on turn 12, for the sake of argument. We roll our dice. We get a +1 because we've got an allied counter there. And we get a +2 there, so we get a +3 to our dice results. And we get a 9. Brilliant, we've achieved success. And we've the end of the game. Brilliant. So now we're going to work out our victory points. And in the rule book, it clearly states all the victory point criteria. I'll just go through them quickly. You get 5 victory points for securing the bridge. Okay, and that means the bridge has not been blown. So if the bridge is blown, you can still successfully complete the mission, as it were, but you're not going to get those 5 victory points for the bridge being secured. You get 2 victory points if you have disarmed the explosives on the bridge. So in the bridge explosives phase, there's an opportunity for you to disarm the bridge. If you've done that, you'll get 2 victory points for that. You get 1 victory point for every surviving airborne unit, and you get 1 victory point for the bridge being secure on the other side of the bridge. What that means is if you've got no enemy here on the glider side, then you get a victory point for that as well. So that can add up. And if you have no enemy in any zone that has the word enemy, you can get an extra victory point for that. And that's the one that's quite tough to get. So they need to be devoid of any enemy counters. Even if you've got a British Airborne counter with an enemy, you don't get the victory point. It's 0. It's no enemies whatsoever. This means you've done an outstanding job and you've been able to secure the bridge, disarm it, prevent it from being blown up, etc. And you've been able to secure a really good perimeter around the bridge as well. And so they're all the victory points you can get. This will all be clearly stated in the rulebook. Now, this is just one of the phases of the game. I do have a series of videos for all the other phases, so please do check them out. I'd like to thank you all for your support for this game, and thanks a lot for watching as always. Thank you.